Hi, I'm Lori. I'm 45 years old, and I have 5 children. And in 1986, I married a man, and we loved each other very much. We had a home, careers, everything we could ever wanted we had. Our oldest daughter, Tiffany, was born blind and deaf. And Tiffany's entire life, she was right by my side. I was her eyes, and I was her ears. I was her protector. At the age of 11, Tiffany passed away. And it was the first time Tiffany was ever without me, and I never understood what happened to Tiffany, what she was doing in heaven, and I didn't understand any of that. And I drove myself crazy. I became very dependent on drugs. I had drugs to get me out of bed. I had drugs to get me through the day, drugs to get me to sleep at night. My drug increased until the point I lost every single thing in my life. I lost my family, lost my marriage, I lost my career as a mental health worker. I lost everything. After 23 years in my home, I watched the bankers put the lock on the doors with everything that I owned inside. I ended up residing in my vehicle with my shame, my guilt, my sorrow, my grief, everything, and it just escalated. There was nothing, the things that I did, I couldn't believe that I was doing things like that. That was not me, that's not who I was. Because of my addiction, I began doing things like, stealing prescription medications and stuff. In 2006, I was in a car accident. I hit a tree head on, and most of my body was broken. I suffered a head injury and major internal damage, and I wasn't supposed to live through the night. And thank God I did. It's only by the grace of God that I stand here. I was not saved at that point in my life, and I would have spent eternity in hell. I spent 2 years in a rehabilitation facility because of my head injury, and I'm telling you, since I came to Teen Challenge, my memory is better than it's ever been. And I know that's all God, and I'm standing here. But when I was in the rehabilitation center, it increased my drug use, and also my depression increased. Eventually I remarried, and I married a man who introduced me to street drugs, very powerful street drugs. So I combined that with all the other medications that I was taking. He also introduced me to spousal abuse, and I ran from him for about 2 years, and one night he found me, and he beat me severely, and he left me in a ditch at night. And that was the very first time that I ever cried out to Jesus, and I cried out to Jesus with everything that I had, and Jesus came for me, and Jesus came quick, and Jesus brought an army for me. And the police found me, and they took me to a battered women's shelter. And in that shelter, there was a little volunteer, and she told me about Jesus, and she asked me if I wanted to go to church. And she wasn't supposed to do that. You weren't supposed to talk about those things. But I did. I went to church with her, and it was August 10th. It was the anniversary date of my daughter's passing. I went to that church, and I never went back to the battered women's shelter. This church took me in. They showed me what it was like to be a Christian. I lived with the minister and his family for about 6 weeks. They put women around the clock to take care of me and get me on my feet and get me moving and protect me. And I have to say that this minister and his wife, they also lost a child, and he was also a retired member of the police force. That's all God. I have to say that's all God that led me in that direction of that church. But they brought me up to Teen Challenge, and in Teen Challenge, I have people around the clock that love me and that are there for me, and I have my feet planted in the ground firmly, and I'm forgiven of all the things that I have done. I'm forgiven of all of that, and that's all in the past, and I can just start my future, and I can be a Christian woman now. I'm no longer a drug addict, and I thank Jesus for that. I have to say that the thing that caused me to spiral down was the death of my daughter. And I did not know that coming to Teen Challenge would give me the closure that I needed to her death. And I know that today Tiffany's with the Lord Jesus Christ, and whatever she does, whenever she does it, she's absolutely fine. And I am saved, and one day I'll be with her again. Thank you.